All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. So I just wanted to take a minute and welcome everyone to our Google Sites for Parent Communication session. I'm going to turn it over to Carl Manganaro in just a minute here. Just a couple quick announcements. As always, be sure to leave your name in the chat so we get you for attendance. And also, I don't have a presentation for sessions next week, but I do want to outline what we have so far. So next week we're going to be hosting webinars on Google Classroom from a student's point of view. So what your students are going to see while they're using Classroom. The Google Classroom mobile app. So for those of you that are teaching, or if you have students, using it from an iPad or their cell phones, we're doing an overview of that. And then we have another session for Google Sheets and basic ideas of how to implement different parts of Google Sheets across the curriculum. So keep an eye out for those in my learning plan. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Carl to talk about Google Sites.
On Google Sites. We did one last week or a couple weeks ago on how to use Google Sites and how to set it up. Today we're going to get a little more into it and show you how you can use it as a platform to communicate with parents. Since Google is EdLaw 2D compliant, you can then use this to communicate with your parents as something you can use this for, as opposed to Class Dojo or Remind, some of the other apps and softwares that are not EdLaw 2D compliant. So for this, what we're going to go over is just going to show you basically how to go into a classroom and add some things that you could use as a communication piece for your parents. I know with some of the other ones you can put in messages. The one advantage some of those other products have is the ability to send direct messages to parents. Still trying to work out a way to do that through here, but you definitely can do messages to parents, but that would be through the form of email, and I'll show you how you can set that up as well. So it might be an extra step there, but you can put a lot more information on this. You can upload a lot more things, and you'll see that there's a big advantage to this once you start using it. For now, that for the remote learning that we're doing, and once the kids come back to school, this is also a great feature to have at the start of the year to give information to parents and to communicate with parents. So I'll go into one I've set up. It's for a first grade class, but it could be for any grade. It's just the grade I use for it. So on this site, what we have, first of all, we have, you put your name on there, and then right off the bat, beginning of the year, you have your course description and your course expectations. So they're always on there. So when there's ever a question, all they have to do is go back to the site, and there it is. It's not paper where they could lose it. And if you do give them paper and they do lose it, they can always go back here and get it. So if a child went to the course description and you have it set up to a link, it would go to a link that would explain the first grade syllabus, what will be going on this year. So it's always there for the students to see. Also, you can put in course expectations. And with that, same type of thing. You can go in and give some of the descriptions that you're going to have for your students. Here I set up a daily announcement. And instead of going into the site every day, you can just do a Google Doc. And from this Google Doc here, if you type something in, it will show up here. So I'll show you what I mean with this. We go to the Google Doc that this is from. Say, how are you all doing today? I hope everything is good at home. Okay, and then this site will then update it when it's ready to go. Right now it's not there, but you'll notice in a few minutes it will be. If you're posting on Google Classroom, if you're using that, You really can't put the link to an assignment on here because then the students will still have to log into it. So if a parent's on here, I know that some parents do help kids log in, but to save it, I would rather it'd be probably better if you just copied the assignment from Google Classroom and then pasted it up on here so they can always see what's going on that day. The nice thing with this as well is you can always adjust it for size purposes if you want these to match up. If you're like me and everything's got to be, even and everything, that's very easy to do in Google Sites. If you want to have a discussion board with parents, I've set up a Google form here that has the child's name and then the question the parent has. You will receive that on your end on Google Forms and the responses, or you can create through Google Form. If you've taken Google Form training, there's a button where you can make it a sheet, and your Google Sheet will have listed all the way down all that, all the questions that the parents have. You can also do that as a poll. So if you're thinking of something you might want to do, you put the child's name and the answer, yes or no, to whatever you're asking them. You can do that as well. Also, if you want to post assignments and not post them, you can always post daily assignments as we did up here, but you can also go down here and look at all you put your calendar in there. And the easy way to do that is you really just go to the calendar, which is located right here. It opens up all your calendars. So if you have a Google Classroom, you can open up the Google Classroom, and as long as you have due dates and assignments, if you click on that calendar and embed it in here, it will have a list of all of the assignments down. Also, if you want to keep tabs, if you want to put pictures up of things you're doing, or maybe things you want the kids to see, or maybe pictures of the kids, you can always use what's called the Carousel. And with the Carousel, it basically just opens up, and you can add as many pictures as you want. And sort of like a slider on a web page, when you see those top images and they slide by and then another picture comes in and it slides out, you can do the same thing with this. If you want to add videos, you can put them right into here. If your school has access to YouTube videos, you can just put the link in. There's a link right here for YouTube. You just put the link for the YouTube. Or if you have your own videos you want to put on there, you just go to upload and it will go to different things you've already have. Or you can actually put in, you can also, if you don't have YouTube, go into Google Drive, take a video, click on that, and the video will come in here as well. As long as it's shared, it has a shareable link to it. If you do want to keep it within your school, the kids have to be logged in to see it. That's something you can do. But in this situation here, you probably want to open it up so anyone with the link or make it public, you can throw it right in here and people can watch it. This here is something I created. It's one of those tickers that come across. And I'll show you in a minute how I created that as well. So the one thing it's hard to do with this is to set up a communication or get parents notify parents, how they can, when you update things on this site. You could tell them, every week on Monday, take a look, the site will be updated. Every day, every couple days, whatever you want to do. You can send reminders in Classroom. Hey kids, don't forget to have your parents check out the website for the newest information. Or you could do another thing where you can create a Google form. And in that Google form, and I'll show you how I did this. You click on Google Form, and I created in here already a subscribe to site page. So you click on it. You can make it a little bit smaller because you don't want to take up too much room. And then take this, and you can actually put this wherever you want. You can put it right here if you want to. I want to make this a little smaller, make this a little bigger. And now you have your subscribe to site. So if you look at this in preview mode, they can click on, put their name and their email, and you can collect those emails, and it collects on a spreadsheet. So whenever you want to communicate with parents, you just go to that spreadsheet, the one row where it has all the emails, select all, copy, put it in your email, push out an email saying, update on the site. So that's another way you could do that. The more sites you have, the more information you can put in. And here you can have different classroom information of what you're doing that week. You can always put on parent resources, ways to log into Classroom, Google Guardian questions, and finally you can even have a video page if that's what you choose to do, where you post different videos on what you want parents to see or different assignments you might have from videos. As we went over in the training, pages could be unlimited. Pages that are up here are pages that you have, but you notice I have a couple pages, these that don't have anything, that you don't see up here in the top tab. And that's because what I did is I hid them in navigation. These are not hidden. You can do that. You don't have to do that. You can have, the only problem, if you have too many pages, you'll start having way too much up here, and then you'll end up having a more button. And what I've noticed, whenever you have the more button, nobody seems to click on it because then it does a nice drop down. So some pages can get lost. So that's just a way to set up pages. You can also have sub pages. So if I was to put in a sub page on Classroom, you'll see what happens. If you look up at Classroom up here, you'll notice something that happens once I do that. It gets this little thing here. So it does have a drop down. You can have that, or you can just have, you can set up links like I did for this. If I didn't want my test page to show up on here, I could always hide it. All right, and then on here, what I could always do is get a button and say test page. Where is it going to be? It's right here. I insert it, and it does create a button for me that I can put anywhere on the site. All I have to do is take it and drag it up. So if I want to put it under here, now we have it there. Okay, not really sure why you want to put it there, but for training purposes, that's something you can do. If you always wanted to, now, once you put it in here, you notice this, if I try to move this, I'm moving everything. So if you do that by mistake, don't worry about it. You can either put it back. So if I took it and all of a sudden I didn't want it there. You can always go back. See, now all three of these are here. So instead of going in there, you can always just hit the redo button and it puts it back. The nice thing about Google Sites is when you're working on it, it's not live. So if you mess up, it doesn't matter. Once you hit publish, then it's live. So if you do make mistakes, don't worry about it. Go back and fix it. Go back always does it. Or Control Z from computers will always bring it back as well. So you have that. And we did go over themes in the other workshop. So that is that's basically whatever you want. Color, it doesn't matter. Okay, you put it in, it goes in, and it will change the color. You're only allowed one color as your major theme. If you are a multicolor person and you like to use more than just one, what I would suggest is to get a picture of just a blank background. So say I wanted to put black in here, or yellow, or green. You take a PowerPoint, you make the background the green color you want, you make that PowerPoint an image, and then when you want to change it, you just click into here and you would add an image. And that image would go into that, and it would be an orange background. One thing it would do when you do that is it will have that readability thing that goes on right here. You'll notice on the first, we have this. It will make it darker. This is not the original picture. If I took this off, the picture will come in probably a little bit brighter. And the reason it does that is because usually you have a title up here and it can't read it. So it has to adjust to it, and it does usually make it darker so people can read it. That's one option you do have when you're making images in here, because if I put a green one in here, more than likely it's going to darken it, so it's going to be a different color green than you wanted. Just click on that, and as long as it looks like you can still read things, you'll be fine. Now, this slider. What you do with the slider and how to make it. Let's go through that real quick. Let me get to a slide. Okay, so here's the slide here. What I do with this is before I even start it, I'm in a regular slide. You would go to page setup. And usually pages are 10 by 8, 10 by 7 in inches. I changed it to 10 by 1. You hit apply. You would then type in the message you want. Make sure it fits in this little spot here. Then, once you're there, you would go to transitions, or animate, sorry. So as you can see now, my animation, I have, for the first part, fly in from right with previous. And I slow it down as much as possible. That way, because it does go very fast. Then I set that up. Then I say fly out to the left. And I choose after previous. And I slow it down. So it does give you all these different options. But to make it look like a real ticker, that's how you set it up. You can play it to make sure it works. And if it's too slow or too fast. Once that's done, I would take the first copy and I would just make a bunch of copies of it. Now, almost there. Then you would hit File, Publish to the web. And I like to use the embed one. And you can say every 3 seconds. You can click on Start Slideshow as soon as it loads. You can check both these. Then you take this and you copy it. When you first do it, it will ask you, are you sure you want to publish it? I already have published it. And you just say yes. So then you go back to your Google site. And you notice in here, there's my embed code that I copied from over there. If it's not wide enough for you, right in here, you can always mess with the length and everything. So if I wanted to make this a little smaller and say 1080 and hit next, see how I made it just a little bit smaller? So that's something you can do. You can adjust it this way. You cannot make it full screen. It stops on this edge here. So it's one thing you can't do, but that's one way to set up a ticker. And you can change that all the time. All you have to do is go into your slide and change it here. And make sure also you get rid of these and you change it to whatever the newest one is. So the nice thing about Google Sites is you have a nice page. You have a bunch of information. You can put information on here all year. If you have new information and you want to keep old information, here's also another tip for you. You create a page called Archive. So now I have an archive page, and I put it under the sub, but I'll put it over down here at the bottom. You can always move pages as well and change them. It is up here. You can hide it or you don't have to hide it. That's totally up to you. So what happens there is, say you want to keep this announcement. So you just click on it and you hit copy. You go to the archive page, and now it's there, and you can actually change this and say, assignment from 4-3. And once you start getting these in, you can start organizing these. Oh. That must have made these two separate. Oh, there we go. And then you go in, you get another one. So then when you go back to your home page, you can change this. So to come in and change your home page or change your assignment will probably take you about 10 to 15 seconds of your time. So it's really quick to use and really nice. This, if you change it, you just change it in the Google Doc. So with this now, what more can I do with this? You'll find out there's a lot more you can do with this, with Google Sites, especially some of the things you like. And if you are the type of person, I don't want to go into Google Sites every day or every other day and make corrections, then my advice would be to start using your Google Drive. So I throw this over here and say I want to put in a Google slide. Just a regular Google slide. It doesn't have to be one that we made on this. Click on it. There's your Google slide. Kids can go in and watch it. It is interactive right through here, or they can go full screen. So you can put your work in here. You can also put your announcements right here, so you don't have to go back into. So if you got announcements you don't want to put in a Google Doc, use a Google slide. Put the announcement in here and they can go through all the announcements. You don't have to go into your website to change it. You just go into your Google Slides, pop in the announcement for that day, and they will see it. So another option you have there. And again, lots of options you have using stuff within Google. You have embed options as well, where you can put in a website if you want. If there's a website you want your kids to go to, put it in there. They click on it, or they can even see the website from within your Google site. Then if you want to add folders, you always have your Google Drive. Click on this. You can add the folders you want. It'll put them in onto your site, so kids always have the files, especially if you have multiple files. Now, just to give you a look at another site, I do want to show you this. If you have kids who are a little bit older, this is what I made for high school, but it could be toned down just a little bit with a few things to be able to, for your 5th, 6th grade class. And in here, I have the same thing. I have my course syllabus all right here on a Google Doc. I have an image of my class rules, a list of the things I'm going to be doing, and this I just used from this layout right here. You click on that, you add the picture, you add the text, you're all set. I have a class discussion going on. So I want the name and I want the answer to the question. And as soon as they put it in here, it populates into the spreadsheet that I embedded from that question. And you can also use pages to divide, into units. and then within that unit into chapters. So in regards to a communications tool for parents, you can put a lot of information on this. You can give parents all the work you're doing, all the announcements you're doing. You can keep them in the know. It avoids emails all the time because the parents are here. Granted, you do have to email them if they do subscribe, but it could be just a generic email. Copy, paste, update to site, send it out. Instead of having to explain everything in the email, now everything is right on here. And the parents, once they know, they'll probably start going to this a little bit more anyways. So you can always keep your parents on what's going on, and you always have your rules and syllabus and other work to go back on in case there are questions. So this has been Google Sites. Oh, there is one more thing. And I did show this, I believe, on the other video, but once you make your site and you have all these different colors, this is all done from this little paint thing here where you can have it white, and they have it by default a gray color, and then they have your theme color, which is orange. How you do this is totally up to you, how you want it to look. And this is even where right here is where I put in I have two colors. This is a black image. So if I went to image, that's what I put. I put in a black background. So I'm able to have another color. You can have multiple colors. You just have to have the images to put in the background. So again, this is Google Sites. If you have any questions with this, please let me know at cmanganero@moric.org. I hope this helped and find maybe another solution to some of the other products that you can't use. This is one that you can do. It's a lot more flexible. It's a lot more you can do with it. And really, it doesn't take a long time to set it up. The last thing before we do go is once you're done with the site, and I did go over this in the other video, but if you want ready to publish it, you would simply click publish. And then click this, and it is published. The first time you do it, it's going to give you the published settings, and it's going to show you that's their web address. All this, that's the address. Okay, if you don't want what I just saw there where the review the changes, you can always click off this, and it won't give you that anymore. And you can also, right now, anybody in the Rome City School District can see this. So if I sent you this site, you wouldn't be able to see it unless you were a Rome employee who had a Rome Gmail. If I change that to anyone can find it, that's what you want if you're going to make it public to parents. Click save, and now this website can be seen by anybody. They won't find it. If it's something you're nervous of, you don't want a lot of people going to it, the odds of somebody finding this site who you didn't give the link to is pretty rare. So you don't have to worry about that. All right, so that's been Google Sites as a parent communication tool. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Alrighty, thank you, Carl. As always, we're going to hang out here in the chat for a little while if you guys have any questions. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. Also, keep an eye on my learning plan. We should have our sessions up at some point today for next week, so be sure to check that out and get registered as well. And I hope everybody has a great Friday, and we will hopefully see everybody next week.